Yo, what's good, guys? So today I'm doing something a little different, a new sort of thing I came up with. It is called Charts and Coffee. Normally I would go to Starbucks and get a drink, but it's a little bit late and they're closed, so I made up for it with a double shot. And we're just gonna be going through the charts and sort of like an outlook video, talking about where I see things going, where things are at, blah blah blah. Now, if you get any value from this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you aren't already, please subscribe, because I will be doing this somewhat frequently, not every week, but probably at least once a month. So hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and if you don't already, follow me on Instagram, because I post a lot of trading related stuff on there. Yeah, without further ado, let's open this thing up and let's talk about the charts. All right, guys. So we're gonna run down the list here and cover what I think is gonna happen, what's going on with price action, etc., etc. So here's GJ. Here's the British Pound Japanese Yen. And if you are new to the channel, by the way, I really only trade these 6 pairs. So I will probably be disappointing some people. I will not be talking about, the Australian dollar, Swiss franc, or whatever other pairs you guys trade. I really only focus on these 6. And one thing I should probably touch on is that might be a good idea for you guys too. Trying to trade all the pairs is not going to yield you any better results. In fact, it will probably yield you even worse trading results because yeah, you're not going to get to know the pairs as well. I really know these pairs, right? I know what they're doing at all times. I know when it's consolidating. I know when it looks like it's going to break out, right? So if you only look at a couple pairs, you become intimate with them. You learn how they move. You learn, what time of day they're most active, when they're not. You really just have a much clearer picture. And especially if you're trading with fundamental analysis as well. You have a much better idea about like I only look at the fundamentals for these currencies. So I basically know these forward and backwards, right? And that's what allows me to be profitable. That gives me an edge, right? Really studying up, knowing how they move. I've been watching these for over a year. So, and only these for only like over a year. So I know these pairs very well, right? So that's something that I encourage you guys to do as well. Really narrow down your focus to a couple pairs and stick with them, right? Now, onto the chart for GJ. Obviously, we're in an uptrend on the 4-hour and the 1-hour. So this thing's in an uptrend. If we're looking on, zooming out a little bit, it's also pretty much in an uptrend, right? Boom, boom, higher high, higher low, possibly on its way to higher highs. And so at the moment, just from a price action technical standpoint, it'd be pretty hard to argue going short, right? We have this support here. I'm sorry, well, support now, resistance now, support, it looks like. It just broke. And so yeah, it's pretty hard to say this thing's a short. So yeah, I'm definitely long bias on this pair. From a fundamental perspective, the pound is sort of neutral. It's been on a bull run. If we look at GU here, right, it's also been go ahead and higher. The pound, no real fundamental backing for that. In all honesty, the pound just doesn't like to stay down for very long, and so investors like buying it up. It's seen as a good value. That's the only thing I can come up with. The pound is seen as good value in the long term, and so anytime it gets too low, big traders, institutions, banks, did they buy it up, right? And so that's what I can come up with. So for the yin side of things, the yin has seen a little bit of weakness lately due to risk on sentiment, which basically just means greed in the market. It doesn't make sense considering COVID cases are now increasing, possible second wave. Um, yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But and you also have now U.S. and China, things are escalating again with them closing each other's consulates. And yeah, but regardless, you have to trade what you see, and there's strong risk on sentiment. You can use AJ to judge this. You can use AJ to judge the risk on, risk off sentiment because the Australian dollar appreciates, goes up when there's strong greed, and obviously the yen weakens when there's strong greed because it's a safe haven. So investors only buy it when they're scared or there's risk off sentiment. And so it's a good judge, right? So if this thing heads lower, there's fear. If this thing heads higher, there's greed. And as you can clearly see, there's definitely greed in the marketplace. It's currently hitting this resistance, but it will most likely break sometime soon. So yeah, I definitely see GJ heading higher. Now, definitely you need to wait for obviously a correction to get in at a good price. So yeah, that's my bias on GJ. Let's head over to GA. So GA has been in a massive downtrend for a couple months now. And the reason for this, I should have held my short. Where was I short? I think I was short over here. I should have held it, but regardless, for now, the bias is short. I mean, you have to follow the trend. Nothing makes me think that the Australian dollar will weaken, which means this would head higher. Except for technically, right? Obviously, technically, this thing's really overextended. You would expect a pullback, but I don't expect it to start an uptrend. Right? Because the pound has been strong, but as you can see, that hasn't had a huge effect on GA because the Australian dollar has been such a strong driver due to this greed, right? And the Australian dollar appreciates very, very nicely when there's greed, and so yeah, basically that's my view. I would not short here. Just from a technical standpoint, that's getting in way too early for me. It might make a new low from here, from this point. Who knows? But if I miss the move, I miss the move. I don't care, right? I care about making money. That's it. And getting in too early, more times than not, will just give you losses. And so, unless you have a really really wide stop loss, which I don't like having those either, I like having a medium sized stop. And so, for that reason, I like to wait for a more of a correction, right? So, but I'm short bias, right? Because I expect further risk on sentiment, and the pound is the pound. It's gonna do whatever, If it goes up, this thing will still head down if this is strong enough, as you can tell. So I'm short bias. GN, same thing. The New Zealand dollar appreciates when there is risk on sentiment, right? Downtrend. Lately, it has been consolidating a little more because the New Zealand dollar has weakened. There's further COVID cases, further possible lockdowns. That's why the New Zealand dollar has been lagging behind a little bit. But I don't expect this to go in an uptrend. Same thing as GA. I see further downside, right? Yeah, nothing really happening with central banks, right? Normally, if this was 6 months ago, I'd be talking about, the RBA for the Australian dollar, or, the RBNZ for the New Zealand dollar, right? Because central banks have a good impact on currencies, but lately that hasn't had a huge impact, and they're not doing a whole lot. So, yeah, that's irrelevant. Really, we're just going off of risk sentiment. That's what we've been trading lately. So yeah, let's head over to EA. EA is a little bit more interesting. Okay, so EA here. Definitely still been in a downtrend. Why? Same exact reason Australian dollar has been so strong due to this greed in the market. Um, so that kind of explains it. The reason lately it has been consolidating is very simple. Very simple why it's been in this range. And that's for the sole fact that the euro has also been strong. And what happens when you have two strong currencies? Well, obviously, it's not going to go super far in any one direction. It's going to chop around until one becomes stronger than the other. So, due to that fact, it's been chopping around, and I don't really have a bias at this point. I wouldn't go short, I wouldn't go long, I wouldn't touch it, right? Why? Because they're both strong at the moment. So, there's no trade. Um, the way I trade is I wait for strong biases, strong trends, one strong week, one strong. I definitely could have worded that better. I wait for basically a good trend to form because one currency is weak, one currency is strong. That's the basis. How do I determine that? With the news, with the fundamentals, sometimes with a little bit of price action, and then I look for a trade. Right? I use moving averages, I use fibs, I use trend lines to find a good solid entry point. It's really that simple. Uh, Now, if you look at my other videos, or you follow me on Instagram, my charts look pretty crazy. Yes, um, but the method behind it super simple. So yeah, because we have too strong, no bias, no, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to stare at this range. Yen, pretty similar, pretty similar, pretty similar. It is in a range for the same exact reasons, right? Same exact thing. New Zealand dollar has been strong because of this greed and risk on sentiment. The euro, also strong. I haven't actually talked about why the euro has been strong. I should probably do that. The euro has been so strong in the last month or so, uh, mainly due to the fact that they were expected to pass a recovery fund, right? The EU, the European Union, comprising of lots of different countries, has been struggling for a while, and then COVID came, and obviously they've really been struggling because they got hit pretty hard with COVID. They had to shut down the economy, hurt even more financially, and so obviously a recovery fund, which would help get the economy back on track and whatnot, would help the economy, aka be good for the euro, right? Pretty simple. So they've been expected to pass that, and they've been working on that for a month. So the market has been buying up the euro in anticipation of them passing this, right? Because this is good news, and they just passed it actually a couple of days ago, or like 2 days ago, or one day ago. So very recently they just passed it, and the euro has shot up. Let's take a look. Actually, let's pull up the euro. Yeah, yeah. You can see right about here. Right here, they passed it. Boom. Shot up even further. But you could have caught this move, right? We've been talking about Euro strength. If you follow me on Instagram or you're a member of Swing FX, which is my trading community where I teach and help others, become traders, we've been talking about this Euro strength, and yeah, you could have capitalized on it all by reading the news and knowing the fundamentals, right? Obviously, technically, right around here, I'm sure people were going short. Even here, I'm sure people were going short, right? Head and shoulder pattern, head and shoulder pattern, head and shoulder pattern. Yeah, no. Actually, this would have been an amazing, and here, I actually got in right here. These would have been amazing places to go long, actually. Um, let's take a look. Oh my God, what is this? Okay. If you take a look, right? You had a nice breakout, retest, and then you had this trend line here as well. So yeah, this would have been a perfect place to go long, and then stop there, something, and then yeah, or even you could have put your stop below here. Would have been a great trade. But anyways, regardless, back to what we're talking about. EA and EN have been chopping around because they have both been, all three have been strong, and so what happens when you have two strong currencies? It just chops around. So would I trade this right now? No. So I don't have a bias. Lastly, well, I'm going to cover gold too, but second to last, let's talk about EJ, the Euro Japanese Yen. This thing, very similar to GJ, has been in an uptrend, definitely long bias. It's a little overextended now, as you guys will see in a moment. It's a little overextended, hitting resistance. So definitely, I would not be buying right here. Just have a little common sense. I mean, if you combine a solid fundamental background, meaning you've been trading with fundamentals for a couple months at least, right? Because it takes a little bit of experience. You don't have to be doing this for 5 years or something. So, you don't have to come from a hedge fund background. You don't have to, no, but you didn't have a couple months of experience. And if you have a strong technical understanding and you have common sense about, price movements, aka you can see if something's overextended, you can see if something you can see price action, you can see if something looks like a good opportunity. If you can do all those things and you have patience, you'll go very far as a trader, very far. It doesn't even have to be swing trading. It could be day trading or scalping too. Well, scalping not so much with the fundamentals because unless you're scalping news or something. But with day trading, you can day trade the news, and you can obviously swing trade the news. I wouldn't say you could scalp the news unless you just scalp like data or something. But yeah, that's really all you need. You need a little bit of fundamentals, good technicals, good at reading price action, and you have patience. You can control your emotions. And last big piece I actually just forgot. If you can manage your risk properly, which really it's not that hard, guys. I don't get why people blow their accounts unless you're trying to go for that. Like if you have an account, you load up with $1,000 and you tell yourself, I want to grow this as fast as possible. I don't want to use proper risk management. I understand I'm over leveraging, but I just want to grow it fast and see what I can do. Then if you blow your account, that's fine. I understand that you knew that was a possibility from the start. But for those of you guys who legitimately think that you can flip your account in a month and do that every month, and that's what professional traders do, you are out of your mind. No professional trader is consistently flipping their main account every month. Guaranteed. 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 So get out of that mindset, right? If you can take home 30% or 50% a year consistently without, excessive drawdown, risking like 1% per trade, you're doing amazing as a trader and you will make millions of dollars eventually. You don't just flip your mindset, guys. This Instagram community of traders, and I guess sort of YouTube, but mostly I see it on Instagram. It sucks. The community sucks because you have some top guys that everyone looks up to, even though, I don't even know if they really trade. They just promote flipping accounts, right? Because it's cool and it gets views and likes and clicks and whatever. But if you talk about risk 1% per trade, shoot for 30% a year, eventually you'll, whatever, it just doesn't get the same attention. Unfortunately, and that's why so many people fail. They're too attracted to the shiny thing to see what truly matters, and that's their fault. So we're long bias on EJ. gotta wait for a pullback to get in. If everything still looks the same way fundamentally, then I would like to look for some long opportunities at some point when we see a correction. But let's talk about gold for a second. Gold, obviously, massive bull run, and it's getting a little overextended here, right? So we'd wait for a pullback and correction to look for further long opportunities, but I think it's headed up to 2000 eventually. It's going to encounter some major roadblocks to get to 2000, if it gets to 2000, because if we look at the weekly chart, so if we're looking at the weekly chart, you can see there's major resistance from its previous high in 2011, right? Definitely because of the financial crisis. This thing had a huge bull run, right? So it's gonna have some trouble breaking that probably for a second, but once it does break, it's gonna be heading higher. So yeah, still long bias gold. That hasn't changed. Fundamentally, gold is a safe haven, and so it appreciates. It behaves a little differently than currencies, right? Because I just talked about how the yen is weak because it's a safe haven, yet gold is a safe haven. It's strong. It's because they move a little bit differently. The yen is, how do I put this? It's basically more for, I would say, shorter term risk sentiment, right? So it, lately there's been greed, but gold is more of a longer term risk sentiment gauger. So what that means is essentially that gold, as you can tell, right, 2008 is when the financial crisis happened, and it still continued higher years later. And I think we're going to see that with Corona, right? Huge financial crisis, and it hasn't even been a few years later. So imagine where gold will be, in a couple years, right? And even just look at the chart. I mean, this thing's gonna break at some point. But anyways, guys, yeah, gold isn't long. It's a little overextended technically, right? From a long-term perspective, just buy gold. But as a trader, you definitely want to wait for a pullback. So, that's it. These are the pairs I trade, and that's my basically bias and view for them, right? Very simple stuff I do. I simply have a bias. I mean, it's so simple. It's kind of crazy to me sometimes. The simplicity, however, gets eliminated when there's greed, right? It's so simple to me because I'm not greedy, right? I just wait for the opportunities to come to me, and they're obvious when they do, right? All the best setups are pretty obvious when it comes to you, and so nothing I do is really hard. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. I just have a bias by reading the news and seeing what sentiment is, right? Looking at price action, and then wait for a trend to form, wait for a correction, and I get in. That's pretty much what I do. It's that simple. And that's it for the first charts and coffee. Next time I'll actually have something besides a can to drink out of, but it's late, so this is what we have to deal with. So that is a wrap for this charts and coffee. I'm excited for the next one already. This was really fun, right? Just talking and chatting, and so maybe sometime I'll do like a live stream of this. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a live stream of me doing this at some point. But yeah, guys, if you gained any value from this, please give it a thumbs up, right? Because that helps the YouTube algorithm, so more traders can see this. And if you don't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I should have another YouTube video out very shortly, within a couple days. So I will see you guys then. Have a great rest of your week, and stay safe. Wash your hands. Peace.